my name's Grandad.
Start off today cutting all the boards out for the fireplace. This board is STS construction board, an A1 rated fireboard. And on top of that we're putting tile backer board. We want the rear and the side wall of the fireplace to be level, so that the grout lines when we tile the fireplace match up, and also it gives us space behind there to run the central heating pipes for the radiators. So to do that, we've just constructed some framework on the wall, which allows that wall to then be levelled out. This is the tile adhesive that we're using throughout the construction of the fireplace. It's from a company called Vicas, as you can see there, and it's used for fireplaces. It's heat resistant, so hopefully that'll do the job. On top of this wooden frame we're using offcuts of the fireboard, putting them on in 2 layers, so it gives us like 25mm of thickness there, which will give us the air gap that we need and the space between the fireboard and any timber. And it's over because the fire regs for the fireplace, you need a minimum of a 10mm air gap. So by doing this we know we've overly compensated for that. And to keep those blocks in place we just taped them on for temporary for now until the adhesive sets, and then it'd be okay to fix straight through that into the timber from the front of the fireboard. Once the frame was done, we threaded some pipe work through them for the radiators.
This pipe now, can you just see which one it is?
Okay. Do it again, eh? They're both moving. Yeah. 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 That's the one nearest the wall.
One nearest the wall.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah. So this is a pipe for the radiators that you're putting in.
Yeah.
Just temporary, just so you know.
Yeah. They're going to go up and clipped up on the wall there.
Yeah.
Just so they know which is which. That's going to be that's the return. That's going to be the flow in and return, so I just know which part when the pipe the hands up.
Yeah.
That's all I need to do. Don't need to mark them both on as one's marked.
So that's all the frames done, and they're all tapered down to the bottom of the boat, so they're angled with the boat but flat on the front. And we've got 2 layers of the fireboard, so we've got the air gap that we needed, but there's the air gap plus a bit more onto the wood, so hopefully we should be fine with that. So now all the boards are put on. They've all got 2 lots of 12mm fireboard scraps on them, including the base and the walls. So there's plenty of air gap going around now, and hopefully they'll be solid as well. Glad these boards are cut. They were really hard to cut, to get through with a saw. They're really like dense, aren't they, and hard. Whereas you got the calcium silica boards, they're a lot easier to cut, so a lot of people choose those. These do the same job, it's just that they're a lot tougher. And we chose these because we wanted to raise the fire off the floor a little bit, and we didn't want any wooden frame underneath that. We just wanted to use pieces of the board itself, so that's why we chose these ones. But now they're done, Adie's then put the backerboard, the tile backerboard, onto the walls as well, ready for the tiling. I might have to hand the talking to Adie. I've got a really stinking cold, and my breathing ain't that good, so you might not be able to understand what I'm saying.
She sounds like an 0800 number.
So I'm going to pass you on to him now.
At least I can tell you what I'm doing now without any interruptions. Anyway, these backer boards, just to let you know, they actually come pre-primed, so you don't have to treat them with anything other than just stick them to the fireboard, and you can tile straight on top of them then without any more preparation. We've got the grandkids back today, and they're giving Hayley a hand cutting and measuring the panelling for the wall. Once the adhesive's set, I screw through all the backer boards through the cement board and into the timber frame, just countersink holes and then screwed through, and it's just to help with any vibration on the boat when the tiles are applied to the board, that's all. And for the eagle-eyed amongst you, I'm putting a pencil in my mouth so I don't look like a lizard every time I'm doing the job.
Originally we was going to have a stud wall that came forward on the fireplace, so it was like the fire was going to be enclosed, But once we'd seen how the wall looked, I quite like the openness of it. So the stud wall has gone, and now we're just going to have it flat and tiled all the way across. Now all that bit's done and we've got it where we want it, we can start on the tiling.
We're using porcelain tiles on the hearth and for the back two walls of the fireplace. The reason being that it's sort of a recommendation thing that not to use ceramics. I think that's because porcelain's obviously a lot harder wearing. Just using the angle grinder here with a cutting disc which is suitable for porcelain tiles, and because there is some few sort of curved edges in the fireplace on the fireplace hearth, it's a lot easier to use this to just shape that curve round on the tiles. The downside with using this blade to cut the tiles is the dust it creates, so you tend to have to find yourself a little corner somewhere where you don't upset your neighbours and stuff, so that's what I'm doing here.
We cut and laid the tiles dry first of all, just to make sure they looked all right. Now they're all cut, they can stay there for a little while I get on with the wall at the back. While Lady's cutting the tiles, I'm cladding the back wall. There's going to be a unit on here, some sort of shelf unit.
We've got all these tiles from a company called Tile Giant, which is a UK based company, and look, we'll have it, there's a store not too far away from where we are based, so that was quite handy really. We've looked around for various sorts of tiles, and visited quite a few showrooms, but for price and stuff and the service you get, it was good. And the lads down there at the local branch were fantastic, really helpful.
So it was a bit of teamwork now. I was on cutting the tiles and AD was laying them. We had them done in no time. All these tiles are individual and they've got a different pattern on and a different texture, but that also means that they're slightly odd when you're laying them. A lot of them are quite bowed. Some of them look like a banana, don't they?
Yeah.
So it was easier to lay them on individually as well. Also, there was no right way up, but as you put the tiles on, you could see which ones you wanted to turn around the other way.
So instead of putting the adhesive straight onto the wall, we put it on each tile, thicker and thinner in different places as it was needed, really. I'm not a tiler, but I did find it easy to do it this way.
I'm really liking how these are looking and how they match the tiles on the base. Looks really good. I'm really pleased we picked them. I know they've been a bit awkward sometimes, but I love them.
At the top of each tile, I'm just pushing a bit more adhesive down just to make sure, because of the unevenness of the tile, I just wanted to make sure that it got a good contact with that back panel, the backer board.
at the very top where there's a little bit of board still left, we're not bothering cutting tiles for that because it actually has fallen really nicely with the rest of the trim that runs around the middle of the boat. So it was a bit of a fluke, but it's worked out really well.
This is all now left for 24 hours to set. Before we come back and do anything else, I'm just going to remove all these tile spacers out once I know the tiles are actually fixed to the wall good and solid, and then I just go around all the joints with a sponge, just cleaning out any adhesive that's got in there before I carry on to the next job. So all that remains to be done now is to get some grout on the walls. We're using heat resistant grout. It's a grey finish and it's supplied by the same company as the tile adhesive. The company's name is Fireplace. Using a rubber grout float to put the grout onto the tiles, just working back in a diagonal fashion. And one thing I will suggest is that when you do this, just try and remove as much of the grout as you can before it's dried out too much, without sort of removing anything from the joints really. It just helps with cleaning up at the end, because when you've got like a patterned tile or an uneven tile, it does seem to get into all those joints. So as much as you can remove at this stage, it just helps at the end when you're trying to clean up. Once you've finished grouting all your tiles, best to just leave them then for 30 minutes or so, just to let those joints dry out before you try and go over with a damp sponge. Otherwise you end up pulling all the grout that you've applied out of all the joints. So just let it cure and then go back and give it a good polish up and a clean up at the end. And as you can tell, it looks a bit of a disaster to start off with, but don't be frightened by the mess it's made, because if you do it in the right way and the right order, it does clean up well at the end and you get a nice finish on those tiles. Once it's had a bit of a wipe down, before it's gone off, I go over all the joints using it's just a rounded off bit of pencil really, and it fits really nice between the joints. It's just like when you're pointing up a brick wall really. It just finishes those joints off though.